Welcome back to Winked and yet another session of Adulting Joyfully, where we have real conversations. So, this week, given that it is Mother's Day on Sunday, and a lot of us might be planning as to what we're going to do for our mothers, how we surprise them, how we make them feel special, I thought it would be a good time to just step back and see what all we've learned from mothers, because mothers are a very, very, very special breed, and they carry some amazing, amazing qualities. And no, we don't need to be a mother to have those qualities, right? And I've been very, very lucky, as I'm sure a lot of us have, to see those qualities firsthand through my grandmother, through my mother, and now even my mother-in-law. And all of them embody these qualities with such perfection, and yet in their own way. So the first one that comes to me when I think about mothers is this ability to nurture, just the softness, just being there, taking care, not worrying about themselves. It's crazy. Like, if you tell your mom in the middle of the night that you're hungry, more often than not, they'll be like, you know what, let me go whip up something for you. And it won't be like, okay, let me just give you bread and toast or whatever. I remember my grandmom, and many a times we would be, during the summer holidays, watching a movie at night. And of course, after the movie, if it's 12:30, I was a teenager, I would get really hungry. And I would tell her, I'm a little hungry right now. And I used to call her Nani. I'm like, Nani, what should I have now? And she'd be like, don't worry. She would go into the kitchen literally at 12 o'clock at night. And she was quite old. And she would spend time, make something for my brother and myself. So we would have a treat in the middle of the night. As I look back, I don't know whether I would do that for somebody in the middle of the night if they said they were really hungry. And this became even more apparent to me when I quit my job and I was in Bali. And I realized what a nurturing society that was. Even the men had this ability to nurture, to take care, and really take care of you because they wanted you as a human being to be happy. They wanted to take care of every need that they had, not because they wanted something in return, because you were the center of the universe. So the first quality that I think of when I think of mothers is this ability to nurture and not really worry about their convenience. It's about you and you being happy. The second one is this ability to give even when you're really exhausted. And I see that in my partner in crime with Winked, Cindy. We were shooting this last weekend, and we've been shooting a few weekends. And as you can imagine, it's a lot of work. The shoot begins at 7 in the morning, goes on till 7 or 8 at night. We're changing cameras, we're changing looks, we're kind of, going through it. And by the end of the day, we're exhausted. Any person would be exhausted. And I'm normally just happy to be done, come home, take a shower, sit with a book, be by myself, and just recharge. But she has 2 little kids. And this past weekend, when we were shooting, she had been out the whole day. She goes back home at around 9 o'clock, and she's been out of the house since 6 in the morning. And I can only imagine how tired she was. And her little son, Connor, sees her and is super, super, super excited to see her mom, like all little kids are. And after 10 minutes, starts wailing because he's missed her so much. And she had to spend the next couple of hours, next hour just soothing him, being with him, playing with him, just taking care of him. And at that time, I don't know where mothers get that energy from, is to just give and take care of the kid and put the needs of the children above their own. It happens to so many mothers to where they're working, working full days, and yet the child might not be well, and they're staying up the whole night and going back to work the next day. Hats off. Don't know how to do it, but it's an amazing, amazing quality to just give. The third one is commitment. There are many commitments that we can get in and out of, and last week you spoke about commitments, but this is one that stays for life. No matter how old the child becomes, you are still committed to them and their well-being. I have a couple of friends, mothers, and they have kids that are special need kids. And it's amazing to see my friends kind of navigate, put their entire life on hold so that the kid can get all the help the kid can get, so that they can have as normal a life as possible. And it doesn't matter whether it's a weekday or a weekend, whether it's a holiday, they're at it 24/7. And I think that is what it takes to be a mother, is the commitment. Because there are days where you don't want to do it. There are days where you want time by yourself. And yet all you're doing is committed to the welfare and well-being of the child. So the third quality that stays with me when I think about what I can learn from mothers is commitment, an unwavering commitment. It doesn't matter if the kid is having a good day or a bad day, is being kind to the mother, is being loving to the mother, or just being a jerk, which sometimes I know as a teenager I have been. And yet the commitment to the well-being of the child stays with the mother, no matter how the kid is. You know, one of the saints of India, Adi Shankaracharya, had said, and I've heard from Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankar, there isn't a bad mother. You can have, children can be up and down, they can be bad, good, but there isn't a bad mother. And literally every mother is doing the best they can, and that commitment is really inspiring. The fourth quality that stays with me is just patience. The amount of patience that's required with children at different phases, right? As a little kid, I remember being on a bus stop many, many, many years back, and randomly watching this mother and her little kid, and I think there might have been a grandmom or some other relatives, and the mom was really having an animated conversation with the other relatives. And the kid would run around a little bit, come back, and want the mother's 100% attention. And she literally had to stop her conversation, give the attention to the child, and then go back, right? And then she would be in the middle of something, and the kid would come back and want something else. And the amount of patience that's needed. You know, another friend of mine was telling me this recently. She has two little kids, and the older one is 2.5, and ever since they've had the younger one, the older one's a little bit more insecure, and he is so clingy. He wants to be with the mother 24/7, so much so that when she goes to have a shower, he's waiting outside the bathroom, waiting for her to come out, and if she takes too much time, he starts banging on the door. And yet she's patient, and she's loving, and she's kind, knowing that it's a phase. And often when we think about our interactions, maybe even with our mothers, with our family, or even people around, it doesn't take much for us to lose patience. So it's an amazing quality to cultivate, patience. The next one, which I think is one of the biggest ones, is just unconditional love. You know, there is so much more that I admire in terms of what my mom has done. Ever since I've seen friends of mine or relatives of mine go through this whole process of pregnancy and having children, you don't realize how much mothers have done, because of course, you know, you were so young at the time. And even through the different phases of life, as a kid where you might have been a handful and not giving any alone time to the mother, or when you were a teenager and really difficult, the point where you didn't want to be with yourself, to the point where you start having the love of your life and you kind of move away a little bit. And yet the mother's love stays unconditional, no matter what you've done. And, you know, I'll give you an example. So my husband's grandmom, Aji, she's one of them where I think of like just unconditional love. There are so many times where we would, and she's 95 years old. So there would be days where we go out and, you know, she'll come out with us because she's a complete sport. Like her spirit is one that I want to have when I'm older. Like, you know, she often says tired is not a word in my dictionary. And there, I remember a day when we'd kind of gone out and we were all really tired, and I must have been a little bit more tired because it was a very hot day in India and I was coming from spring over here. And she looked at me and I was a little tired, and she's like, Ruchika, you're looking a little tired. Of course, she says this to me in Hindi and Marathi. And she's like, should I put some oil in your head? And she's 95 and she has walked as much as I have. And yet at that point in time, she's thinking about just taking care of me. And that love that she has, where she's not thinking about how tired she might be, but how tired I am. I think that kind of unconditional love is what keeps us going. It's a security for us. You know, often when things would go wrong in my life, I would call up my mom when I was younger and I'd be like, you have to set it right, right? You're a mother, you know how to fix everything. And as kids, that's our experience. If anything is ever wrong, you know, we get hurt or we're not feeling well, we run to the mother, because the mother in our mind can set it right for us. And whether they can or not, it's the love that we feel, the care that we feel, and that is what turns everything around. It's not like they can fix everything, But that love gives us a security blanket. That love is a knowingness that life would be okay. And even if it isn't, mom is always there, right? So that unconditional love, if we can show up for people around us and just take care of people, especially right now, as you know, it's been a year of lockdown and people are alone and some parts of the world are still really struggling. Just be there and take care, not wanting anything in return. And in some ways, that's the way nature loves us. You know, Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankar says, nature loves us unconditionally and maybe even more than our mothers love us. So just knowing that something in us relaxes, something in us just eases off, because all we want is reassurance that life would be okay. So I'm going to just pause there and see if there are qualities that you have picked up from your mother or watching other mothers around. For me, the ones that kind of stayed with these 5, which is this ability to just be a nurturer in chief, just give, be committed, be patient, and unconditional love. So those are the 5. I would love to hear if there are other qualities that have stayed with you as you have looked around and what you've learned from your mother, and any questions that you may have for today's talk and about mothers. I know it's one of the more challenging journeys, but it's also, I believe, I hear from people, one of the more fulfilling ones. So I'm looking to see if there are any questions. There are people wishing each other happy Mother's Day to all mothers. So yes, happy Mother's Day. So if there aren't any questions, we'll just end on that note. And this weekend, as you think about celebrating your mother, think also of the qualities that you want to imbibe. And you don't really, man, woman, child, no child, we can still imbibe these qualities. Okay? So happy Mother's Day to everyone. And I'm hoping the world becomes a much more nurturing place with a little bit more of the mother and the feminine energy, because I think we do need it right now. Okay? Have a great weekend. Happy Mother's Day again.